So in the coming weeks, what's going to happen is a crew will be coming in and they'll be tagging the trees for removal, and the trail will get closed down, and pedestrian and bikes will be redirected on Watka's Way. And what we're planning on doing is taking down these trees. We're actually going to push them over, a lot of them over, because we want to keep the trees intact as much as possible. So we want the root and the trunk of the tree. And then what we're going to be doing with those trees is we're taking them on site, keeping them on site, and we're going to reuse them to complex a new stream that we're building. So using that wood to create habitat for fish and for birds and insects. We're replanting at a minimum 2 to 1. For every tree we take down, we'll be planting 2 new trees. And we'll be planting mostly native trees. In the stream area, we're planting all native species, so native trees and shrubs. We're planting, similar trees to what we have behind us, which are Douglas fir, but we also are planting Gary oaks, willows, cedars, where the soil moisture is conducive to their good growth, and alder trees. So we're leaving them in a certain length, like we want them to be logs that we place in the stream habitat. Some of the trees we're going to leave a bit of the branches on them so that that creates more habitat complexity when we install them in the stream. And the branches that we remove, we're going to take all the branches and even some of the smaller trees and some of the shrubs that we have to remove. We're going to grind that all up and make it use that as mulch. So that once we install the landscape for the stream, that material is going to be spread over the soil to act as mulch, and that helps with erosion control. It kind of feeds the soil long term, makes it easier to control weeds, and we just want to reuse all the material that we're dealing with on the site. So we're removing the trees because, well, we're removing them. One part is because we have to move move the trail over. And part of the site gets built where these trees are, but we also need to move the stream channel. So there's an existing stream on the property, and we have to move that to accommodate the building of this site. And so we have to, the trees come down first, then the channel gets built, and then the trees go into that channel to add the habitat complexity there. One of the nice points of getting that stream built first is the project's going to take a couple of years to build. So if we can get that planted, there'll be irrigation, they'll get watered throughout the summer. So they actually grow for those first couple of years as we build. So it's actually going to create a bit of a buffer, and that landscape will be well established by the time we're building and installing the parking and things like that. So it's going to be a well-mature landscape in that sense. For tree permitting, the town of View Royal has been approached, and tree permits have been gotten from the municipality, and that would say the number of trees and how many trees are and when the trees are coming down, which I think is going to be next week. Some of the trees will be used for Indigenous art, either on-site or off-site, and also thinking of milling some of these trees for wood that we can use in birdhouses. So we can actually create habitat for birds instantly when the project is built. This tree behind me is a Gary oak tree, which is a protected tree, and we want to keep this tree. And to keep it, what has to happen is we need to protect the tree itself, but we also have to protect its root system. So the fencing that you see around it, that's tree protection fencing that keeps anyone outside of that zone. So we don't want anyone to dig in that zone and disturb those roots. So we're protecting the root system and the tree at the same time. In terms of other trees in this area, there's 3 other baby Gary oaks that we're also protecting. There's native shrubs, there's Nootka rose, there's also some invasive species that we'll be removing, once we get into the construction phase, like blackberry. The power lines are going to move slightly inboard, and to accommodate that, some of the branches of the tree will have to be pruned. And we have a professional arborist on our team that will supervise that pruning. But Gary oaks are very slow growing trees, and they can accommodate a little bit of removal like that, and they don't grow back into the power line. So it's not something that's gonna have to be cut back every year. This tree is an anchor tree on our site, sort of like the apex of our site. And on Watkiss, we're planting a double row of deciduous trees. Not Gary oaks, but we want bigger trees that'll help screen and provide some privacy for our neighbors. And then we're also planting more native trees and all native trees in the new stream that we're developing. So we're not removing trees willy-nilly on the site. We're only removing trees that, you know, we need to remove the trail, to build the facility. But, you know, for example, this tree behind us, it's, we don't have to remove it. We don't want to remove it. In fact, it's a real asset to the site. In fact, while we've been here, there's probably been 3 or 4 different bird species that have been utilizing this habitat. So we want to enhance that. And this is the kind of, you know, tree and some of these trees that we're planting back on the site that we hope to see more of in the future.